What's up YouTube, Freight Hero here. I'm going to show you guys my Angel Feather deck profile, my G build anyway. So, I'm starting off with Turiel as a starter instead of Azrael. Azrael is an inherent +1, but Turiel likes to go off early game because she's not GB and can fix your really awkward starting hands. Like if you get clogged with 3s, you actually can get guard or something, and it does make it easier to get the 3 soul for the Raziel plays. And yeah, that's kind of why I run it. I like it. She seems a little underused in my opinion, since everyone's using Azrael. And then triggers for Sunny Smile Angel Heals because she can go back to the deck. That 6k could make a change in numbers when you're doing your big wonky plays with your grade 2s and grade 3s. 4 of the best stand trigger. It's pretty nutty because it gets your triggers for all your damage effects, so you can get a lot of crazy plays, especially if you deck thin and just have a bunch of these. You pretty much have an never-ending cycle if you get lucky enough to get to that point in the game. 2 no-CL stand triggers. I like the added effects of being able to rush down, or well, not really rush down, but like get as much value out of your big turn plays, so having the extra stands do help to actually trigger. And plus that no seal can go to soul too if you lose your starter or something, to swap from your damage zone. And then 4 crit hit angels because more soul building, +3 could change a number late game. And then just 2 more generic crits. Since I'm not running Legion, there's no reason to run the Celestial one. 4 Stride Fodders searches out your Gavrails, and you're a stride oriented deck, so you want as much ways to stride without skewing ratios. And then 4000 Ray Pegasus, best booster. It just helps for hitting really good numbers, and if you ride it, you get a little defense if they try to rush you. 4 perfect guards. I really want more just non-G perfect guards because honestly there are times where you would want to perfect guard your rear guards and you really don't need the unflips because you have so many ways to unflip due to your stands and damage cycling in general. And then this is where I would want 2 no-CLs, but as of right now I haven't seen my friend who has all the no-CLs. He's got like more than enough, but I haven't been able to get it off of him. And then one of this grade 1 who basically says you can superior call it at GB1 for a counterblast 1 if you swap a damage or something like similar to swapping, you know, the normal Angel Feather shenanigans. And then 4 of the best grade 2 in this deck because anytime damage gets swapped, you take damage or anything for like that, you get a +2 to her and your Vanguard, so it makes some really nutty plays even if you can't stride, if you can just pump your Vanguard. But also on the stride turns it makes some really good pushes with Azrael, with Raziel. That's why she's one of the rear guards you'd really want to try to protect, if at all possible. And then 4 Million Ray Pegasi. It's like a not as good Azrael. Nurse a Broken Heart, the card I just showed you guys, because the downside is that it doesn't give the Vanguard power, but the plus side is it's not GB and it works on Vanguard, so if you ride it, you get rushed down, you have some extra form of defense. It's the nice backup too to usually have. And then if you're playing against rush decks, you have 2 Kiritos. His whatever skill is basically being able to superior call with the GB1 and whatnot. So it's usually for decks that retire a lot, or if you just really can't get board presence because they keep bashing your rear guards or something like that. It's just a nice way to get extra rear guards. And then 1 Unicorn who likes to heal the damage. It makes some fun plays, honestly. Like, I can see why people would say it's bad, but of course you're going to be putting it behind the Vanguard. Since it does have resist, there's very few ways to actually kill it, and if you're playing a matchup that can kill it, you either don't play it or you know, work around it. But yeah, basically that card heals you damage for Counterblast 1, and it can make some plays with like Raphael, where you can late game call over this, give yourself the damage after using like a Raphael if you're at 5, so you can trigger more effects to get like the +2s and stuff. It does add 1 extra extension, since you can heal your own damage for free more or less. And then the grade 3s for Gavrail, pretty self-explanatory since this is the G build. She is the heart and soul of the deck. Her on stride gets you a rear guard. Her GB2 gets you defensive plays and potentially offensive plays if you're just unable to stride and have ways to swap around damage and whatnot. And then 4 Calamity Flames because we're playing the aggro build, no Legion, just straight beat down more or less with your high numbers because of all the damage swapping you should be doing with like the stands and Raziel. Honestly, this is rarely on the board, more for stride fodder. You really don't want to ride it, but it can kind of be defensive if you ride it, if you just end up getting stuck on it. But with the amount of ways to search it, it shouldn't happen too often. Or I mean to search your Gavrails. So yeah, it's just a nice backup 3. Usually just goes to the damage zone and stays there. And just have the grade 2s in a realistic position, but you know, like if you play against retired decks, you won't have any other choices. So it's nice to have it. And then G-Zone, 2 Blizza. Personally, 1 Blizza is because you always want to, or almost always want to stride into Blizza first and immediately go to GB2 to abuse Gavrail's GB2. The second copy is there for an extra push, especially if your game state gets to the point where you use up all your G-Zone, since this is already going to put you at GB2. The 2 Raphaels will put you at GB6. Yeah. So at that point, if you really want to push with that extra, that's an option. It's realistically not supposed to happen, but there's not that many better slots right now. Because you could run 2 Raziels, but you don't have the soul really, unless you just shove all your crits and stuff. But that's really minus, and just building soul is not that consistent in this deck. So there's only one. He is your game ender, or should be anyway, because he basically on stride Soul Blast 3 and cycle your entire damage zone back to your deck and put the same amount that you sent back into your damage zone. So that triggers all your damage zone effects, getting huge boosts to your vanguard and rear guard lanes, which is why I run the stands, because you're gonna hit nutty numbers and it's just overall a great play. That's why, like, if you could get soul more consistently, I would definitely run 2. I was actually running 2, but it normally just gets flipped up for Blizza, so might as well just run that extra copy of Blizza just in case. And then 1 Uriel. She's there because for the mass retire matchups, you can actually try to get board presence. You rarely would go into her, because Blizza is usually your first thing, and you either go into Raphael or Raziel after that. But yeah, against the retire matchups, you can try to get board presence. And then last but not least, for Raphael, their GB2 on Flipper, or G Persona Flipper, whatever you call them, just to heal a damage. It's pretty good. Like I said, it combos with Dreamlight, or just, you know, putting yourself to lower damage is always a great thing to abuse Gavrail more, because you can just no guard. The greed plays of no guarding at 3 against strides is pretty real in this deck, because of the fact that you can send your heals back, and plus you just keep healing, so, you know, the greed plays to abuse Gavrail are real. And that's basically the entire deck. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.